Dear Judge Lyman, as counsel for Wayfarer Studios LLC, Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, Steve Sarowitz, It Ends With Us Movie LLC, Melissa Nathan.
You ever get that feeling something huge is going down behind the scenes, but no one's saying it out loud? Like, everyone's smiling for the cameras, but the real story is messy, explosive, and locked behind NDAs and text messages nobody was supposed to see? Yeah, this is one of those situations. Because what's unfolding right now between Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, and Hollywood's most cutthroat attorney, Bryan Freedman, isn't just some petty celebrity feud. This is full-blown legal warfare with power moves, media manipulation, and receipts that might actually ruin careers. And no, this isn't tabloid fluff. There are names, documents, and a whole lot of shade being thrown behind the scenes. We're talking A-listers accused of twisting the legal system to control the narrative.
In Blake's first amended complaint, Blake changed what she alleges about what happened while filming the slow dance scene, now that the footage has been released for everyone to see.
PR teams allegedly planting hit pieces, texts edited and stripped of emojis to make someone look guilty. Like, who even thinks to do that? But here's the kicker. If even half of what's being said is true, this whole situation flips. And what Blake Lively's team doesn't want you to see? Oh, it's starting to leak. And it's a lot uglier than anyone expected. So before you write this off as another Hollywood headline, stick around. What you're about to see changes everything you thought you knew about power, image, and what really happens when a celebrity decides to play dirty. You know how Hollywood usually settles things quietly? Handshakes behind closed doors, carefully worded press releases, everyone smiling for the cameras like nothing ever happened? Well, not this time. Because Bryan Freedman, one of Hollywood's most feared attorneys, just went nuclear.
He told us that Justin Baldoni claims she tried to take over his movie because she has a history of saying, okay, I'll be the star, but what I secretly want to do is direct it and edit it and produce it.
He came right out swinging at Blake Lively, accusing her straight up of abusing the entire legal system. Yeah, that Blake Lively, the one you thought had the flawless, squeaky clean reputation. Freedman's saying her recent motion to dismiss isn't just wrong, it's straight up manipulation. And here's where it gets wild. He's promising that this lawsuit isn't built on vague claims or empty threats. Nope. Freedman's got documents, texts, and cold, hard evidence that he claims will expose exactly how Blake allegedly schemed behind the scenes. And he's not stopping at Blake. Her PR team? On the chopping block. The people working closely around her? Potential defendants, too. Even her superstar husband, Ryan Reynolds, might end up in Freedman's legal crosshairs. He's practically daring them to deny it. Like he's got a stack of receipts he's just dying to drop. This isn't your typical Hollywood lawsuit where things quietly disappear after a nice payout and an NDA. Freedman is shouting from the rooftops that this case isn't just smoke.
Blake Lively is slamming The Hollywood Reporter's recent magazine cover. The cover features the actress launching a slingshot at Justin Baldoni amid their ongoing legal battle.
There's fire, and lots of it. He's promising to peel back the glitzy Hollywood curtain to show us exactly how dirty things get when power, fame, and reputations are on the line. So buckle up because this legal storm is just getting started. And the names involved? They might shock you even more than Freedman's claims already have. Now here's where things take a turn from messy to strategic. According to Freedman, this wasn't just a legal disagreement. It was a full-blown smear campaign, planned and executed like a Hollywood thriller. And at the center of it all? Blake Lively's PR machine, allegedly working overtime to destroy Justin Baldoni's reputation before the public ever knew what hit him. Freedman claims Lively's team, including high-powered publicists like Leslie Sloan and Stephanie Jones, were secretly feeding negative stories about Baldoni to the media.
He and 9 other plaintiffs, including his publicists, have brought a $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times, essentially alleging them of libel and false light invasion of privacy.
And it wasn't subtle either. We're talking full-on character assassination, just as the film they worked on together was about to drop. All Justin wanted, according to the texts, was to protect the movie, protect himself, and honestly, even protect her. But what he got instead? A PR ambush. And here's the wild part. The New York Times allegedly had access to over 1,000 pages of texts between the two. Texts that could have shown the full picture. But Freedman claims they cherry-picked the ones that made Baldoni look like the villain, and left out the ones that would have completely flipped the narrative. If that's true, it's not just shady, it's calculated. Because think about it, when you're a high-profile star with access to elite media connections, you don't just react to a problem, you reshape the story.
This text from Blake Lively is insane. If you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of how flirty and yummy the ball busting would play.
And that's exactly what Baldoni's team says happened here. But if Blake's team really did engineer this PR takedown, what else were they hiding? And how far would they go to make sure the truth never saw the light of day? Behind the courtroom drama and legal jargon, there's something way more powerful happening. And it's not happening in front of a judge. Because while everyone's focused on the legal filings, Blake Lively is allegedly playing an entirely different game behind the scenes. A game where influence, pressure, and connections matter way more than evidence. Freedman says she's not just waiting for the case to play out, she's actively trying to shut it down, fast. Not with legal arguments, but with moves that only someone at her level can pull off. Think high-level phone calls, strategic whispers to the right people, and an invisible push toward a quiet settlement before things spiral out of control. And it makes sense, doesn't it?
I am so oddly invested in this case. I follow so many TikTokers who have gone through 800 pages of case files. And listen, I'm not shocked by this latest conspiracy because she said herself her husband is all over this film.
The longer this drags out, the more chances there are for private texts, sensitive details, and damaging evidence to leak. And Blake knows it. That's why, according to whispers, she's doing everything she can to tighten the lid before things explode. She's not out here writing legal memos or showing up to hearings. She doesn't have to. She's reportedly using her network, her image, her team, and yes, even her star power, to tip the scales. Because when a celebrity wants something to disappear, they don't argue, they nudge. And when someone like Blake Lively starts nudging, things tend to move. But here's the twist. Freedman sees it, and he's not backing down. Which means we're about to watch two very different kinds of power go head-to-head. Hollywood influence versus hard legal firepower. Now here's where it gets downright sneaky. Freedman isn't just accusing Blake Lively's team of running a smear campaign. He's saying they manipulated the actual evidence.
And also, like, this is the most, like, divisive thing we've seen in a long time. You're either Team Justin or you're Team Blake. It's like the new, like, Team Jacob, Team Edward.
We're talking about text messages being stripped of context, crucial messages left out entirely, and, get this, emojis removed to change the tone of conversations. Yeah, seriously, emojis. It sounds ridiculous until you realize how important those little symbols are in showing intent. A heart emoji can completely shift how a message is interpreted. A laughing face can turn something serious into a joke. And according to Freedman, Blake's team erased all of that, on purpose, to make Baldoni look cold, calculated, and even threatening. But it doesn't stop there. Freedman says they didn't just trim the fluff. They surgically removed anything that would have shown the messages were lighthearted or satirical.
Well, look, again, it's a work in progress. If I had figured it out, the world would look different.
And worse, they allegedly left out entire strings of texts that would have told a completely different story. One that, according to Freedman, proves Baldoni never intended to hurt Blake at all. If true, this isn't just shady PR. It's evidence tampering with a Hollywood filter, the kind of manipulation that turns a text thread into a weapon. And when you've got a team of crisis agents allegedly working directly with the press to craft a narrative, it stops being a simple legal case and starts to look a lot more like reputation warfare. But if this is what's already being exposed this early in the fight, what else is hiding in the shadows? Because the deeper we go, the more this case starts to look like a script written for damage control instead of justice. By now, it's clear this isn't your average celebrity lawsuit. And Bryan Freedman? He's not your average attorney. This guy's made a name for himself going toe-to-toe with Hollywood's biggest power players, and he's not the type to flinch when the pressure's on. But even he seems to know that what he's up against here isn't just legal, it's industrial strength celebrity influence.
Well, Baldoni looks like, what's the word? He's got like a, you remember going to school with that kid that always like, raised his hand real quick in school?
Because Blake Lively isn't just a star, she's a brand. She's married to one of the most likable A-listers in the game, and her image is practically bulletproof. That kind of reputation comes with serious weight, and when she moves, people pay attention. So while Freedman is gathering evidence and making his case, Lively is allegedly using every tool in her arsenal to shape the narrative before it ever reaches a jury. And here's where it gets really interesting. Freedman might have the legal expertise, the documentation, and the timeline mapped out. But what he's really fighting is a machine. A Hollywood machine that knows exactly how to control public opinion, flip headlines, and make inconvenient truths disappear with one well-placed source close to the matter. It's a chess match.
And suddenly there were these headlines and people were just very upset with Blake Lively and started stringing together her pattern, okay? So her reputation, you could say, last year completely tanked.
On one side, a legal bulldog who's digging deep for the truth. On the other, a media-savvy A-lister who knows how to bend perception like it's second nature. And in this kind of fight, truth doesn't always win, power does. So the question is, can Freedman outmaneuver an entire industry that's built on image? Or is he already 10 steps behind someone who's been managing hers flawlessly for years? So what's really driving Blake Lively to fight this so hard? Why not just let the legal process play out if she's confident in her side of the story? Well, here's the thing. When you're a celebrity operating at her level, it's not just about winning in court, it's about control. Control of the headlines, control of public perception, and, most importantly, control of what doesn't get out. And in this case, there's a lot that could get out.
This looks good for Baldoni, right? He's like, we want to make it all public. And sometimes lawyers can do this knowing that they can't actually do what they say they're going to do.
Because once a lawsuit like this goes public and enters the discovery phase, things get messy, really messy. Every message, every email, every offhand comment that was never meant to see the light of day becomes potential evidence. And while her team might be working overtime to protect her narrative, the truth is that legal proceedings have a way of dragging skeletons out of even the most perfectly curated closets. We're not just talking about the texts everyone's already whispering about. We're talking about archived conversations, internal PR emails, deleted DMs, anything that paints a version of Blake that doesn't match the pristine image her brand depends on. And that image? It's worth millions. Blake isn't just an actress. She's a business. She's been the face of fashion campaigns, high-end brands, blockbuster movies. Her name has been synonymous with elegance and charm for years. But here's the problem with building a flawless reputation. It doesn't leave much room for scandal.
The agency group PR LLC and Jennifer Abel, collectively the Wayfarer parties, we write to advise the court of an issue that the Wayfarer parties wish to address at the upcoming conference on Monday, February 3rd, 2025.
One wrong headline, one clip taken out of context, one text message with the wrong tone, and the internet doesn't wait for context. It reacts fast. And if something slips through the cracks during this lawsuit, it won't just hurt her current project, it could ripple across every endorsement, partnership, and deal she has on the table. And don't forget, she's not alone in this. Her husband, Ryan Reynolds, is one of the most beloved figures in Hollywood. His name is already being floated in legal conversations, not because he's directly involved, but because when you're that closely connected to someone in a scandal, the splash damage is inevitable. If the lawsuit gets uglier, and if names keep getting dragged in, it's not just Blake's image at stake, it's theirs. So no, Blake Lively isn't just trying to win a court case. She's trying to shut it down before it spirals into something she can't manage. And if that means pushing for a settlement, leveraging her influence, and keeping everything behind closed doors, then so be it. Because for her, this isn't about being right or wrong. It's about survival in an industry that turns on you the second you lose control of your narrative. And it's not just about her. Ryan Reynolds is already being named in the legal firestorm. He may not be front and center, but even a whisper of scandal could throw a wrench into the empire they've built.
This is like any actor. We used to have on our resumes, you'd have a section that would say special skills and interests. And my special skills and interests were insane.
That's why Blake allegedly isn't waiting for the system to run its course. She's doing everything in her power to shut this down quietly, before it becomes something she can't control. Freedman, on the other hand, seems ready to go the distance, which tells us one thing. He thinks he's holding cards that Blake really doesn't want on the table. And if she's pushing this hard for a settlement, it might not be about guilt or innocence at all. It might be about making sure those cards never see the light of day. When you zoom out and really look at the big picture, this case is more than just a clash between two celebrities. It's a full-blown exposé of how things actually work in Hollywood. Because beneath the red carpets, curated Instagram feeds, and flawless interviews, there's a ruthless system built on perception, power, and silence. And this lawsuit, it's peeling that polished surface right off. Freedman isn't just fighting to clear Justin Baldoni's name. He's challenging a machine that's designed to protect the elite at all costs. And Blake Lively? She's not just trying to defend herself. She's allegedly pulling every lever behind the scenes to make this entire mess disappear before it catches fire. But what happens when both sides refuse to back down? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. In Hollywood, settlements aren't always about justice. They're about leverage. Sometimes it's cheaper, easier, and safer to pay someone off than to let the public see what's really going on. And when reputations are worth millions, even a few bad headlines can feel like a full-blown crisis. So if Lively is pushing for a quiet resolution, it might not be because she's afraid of losing in court. It might be because dragging this out means letting go of control. And in her world, that's the one thing you never do. But the real question is, what are they trying so hard to keep buried? Because if even half of what's being claimed makes it into public record, it could flip Hollywood's golden girl image upside down. And by then, no amount of PR spin in the world will be able to put it back together.